lights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we rise strong and proud. Running up the score, Kings never back down. If you don't like that, this ain't your town.
Kings score only 48 in the second half. They lose 115-110 despite Ja Morant not even being on the floor in the last part of the game. Here's the story. I'm going to go right to the bench. Memphis's bench destroyed Sacramento's bench. Destroyed them. Just absolutely destroyed them.
Yeah, this is one that the Kings are going to look at the film and say we should have won this game. This was brutal. They lost it in the third quarter, Grant, too.
Yes, they did.
It wasn't just the bench. You look at their shooting in the third quarter, 32.1% from the field. Grant, Memphis had the Kings had 6 stops in a row on Memphis in the middle of the third quarter. 5 were forced turnovers. The Kings only converted 1 bucket during that time. One bucket.
And you're back to under 3 games under 500. And you go to San Antonio tomorrow, and they had a bad night against Chicago. So, you know, they're going to be looking to bounce back. And the Memphis bench was great tonight. I mean, led by Marcus Smart. Their bench. Yeah. See, there's the difference. We keep talking about this, and I'm going to keep you know, and I like Isaac Jones. I think he's been good, but I mean, Kevin Huerter was terrible tonight. You need his scoring off the bench. He was 0 of 6 from distance. You know, there's no score now with Malik Monk in the starting lineup, which is fine and dandy. There's no scoring from the bench, none.
Yeah, well, that's your problem. If you're relying on Isaac Jones for scoring, that's not why he's in the game, right?
Thank you. Exactly.
You know, you could say, Mike Brown, do you go to Keon Ellis earlier? He goes to him briefly in the third quarter. That's about
he's in
a wrap.
The doghouse, isn't he?
It
played,
sure
what, 2
appears.
minutes?
Yeah, it appears
2 minutes, Ryno.
I know. It appears to be the case. Here's the thing that Kevin did well. He was guarding well, and he was moving. He was keeping the offense moving because, Grant, this team completely went away from what they did in the first half and the second half offensively. Completely different.
Yeah, but I need Kevin Huerter to make a freaking shot, Ryan.
Well,
you know,
Grant, we could go down the list. You need Keegan Murray to make a freaking shot.
Yeah.
I mean, how many did he miss that were great looks? And I know he had some good aggressive drives.
1 of 7 from 3.
Yeah. So you put the 2 of their stats together, Grant. What's that?
Yeah.
1 of 13.
I'm getting to a point where I don't want Keegan shooting a 3. No, my let it fly mantra for Mike Brown does not apply to Keegan Murray. And I don't give a damn what he's done previously in his career. He's absolutely unable to make threes. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. And I know he's not alone, but I mean, come on now.
No, I hear you. But it's going to be the story of the season. We're going to keep having this conversation every night because I think every third, fourth, fifth night, Kevin will knock some shots down. Keegan will.
And they're not going to make the playoffs if we're having this conversation every night.
Well, then they're not going to make the playoffs because where else is it going to come off the bench? It's not coming from McLaughlin. It's not. McDermott, no. Jay Crowder, obviously, although he's doing some decent things, he can't play, Grant. He can't.
Fox was 0 of 7 also from distance tonight.
He's struggling.
I mean, it's just their 3-point shooting. How often do we talk about this, Ryan? It's almost even when they win. Sometimes we talk about their 3-ball. It's just unbelievable. It's a 3-point league, and the Kings stink at 3.
Yep, it's a great point. It's a great point. How do you change it? Keep shooting. It's what Mike Brown says, or at least in practice. Keegan Murray took 109 today in shoot around, but
I don't care if he took 5,000 in shoot around. Doesn't matter to me.
I get it, Grant.
I don't give a damn what players do in practice. I've been to so many NBA practices, and I've seen guys that were first team All NBA in practice. Jim Les was like that. Jim Les, the head coach at UC Davis, good friend of mine. Love Jim. He was one of the best practice players I've ever seen in my life. Destroyed everyone. Couldn't miss. Was great. And Jim wasn't a bad player, don't get me wrong. Right. But Jim didn't play in the games the way he did in practice. Jim was first team All NBA practice.
Right. And here's the other problem, Grant. The fix is Trey Lyles, right? But Trey Lyles is hurt.
Yeah.
Again,
But he wasn't doing anything when he was playing.
he was not. So we go back to roster construction. Grant, this was a team at the end of last year that was not shooting the 3-ball well either. This isn't anything new. This didn't come out of the blue. So they've got some decisions to make. That's why they changed to that pick and roll offense. But you can't go away from it. You can't.
Let's get to Dirk. Dirk, you'll lead us off here after a loss. Hello, Dirk.
Hey, guys. Yeah, this one's tough. I mean, obvious, no one can make, well, I'm not going to say no one can make a three-point shot because that's part of my problem with this one. I think you lost for two reasons. Obviously, number one, the three-point shot. And number two, I'm going to say bad decision-making. Because one guy could consistently hit from three tonight. How many three-point shots did Malik Monk take in the second half?
Only
Couldn't
a couple.
tell you.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, Dirk. Pull it up in 1 second. Go ahead.
Not very many, right? Sabonis hit one. We talk all the time about getting Sabonis, more shots from three. Would you say Sabonis was really effective offensively in the first half? I thought so.
Yeah, because the ball was moving.
What did we do with Sabonis in the second half? You're going to tell me that Memphis defense is so good that they contain Malik Monk and Sabonis in the second half? It was bad decision making. It's a situation where Fox not having a great shooting night. Amazing on the defensive side. 6 steals tonight. We should have came away with this game, but it's like we went away from things that were working. When things stopped working, we couldn't get out of this situation. You talk about Keon. Keon came in and DeMar, he was wide open for a three when no one else can hit a three tonight. How impactful would DeMar had the ball at the top of the key, Keon wide open. I know he saw him, but he took the shot. And I'm like, is he that bad in the doghouse that we're not even going to give him the wide open three?
So you bring up a good point. So 2 things. Malik had 4 threes in the second half, 3 in the fourth quarter, 1 in the third quarter. I thought DeMar was a little too heavy in the fourth quarter with the isolation. I thought it was too heavy-handed, especially after Ja Morant went out.
Yeah, we're down 3 points. There's 44
Morant
seconds.
Awful tonight, and he got kicked out of the game, and the Kings still won. Chew on that for a moment.
Were you worried about Ja Morant, Grant? Because we were.
Yes.
I was not worried for 1 second because De'Aaron was either locking him up on the, initially, and then
I wasn't worried about him. No. I was worried about him entering the game. He's an elite player. I wasn't necessarily. I always worry about Ja Morant. I mean, Fox wasn't playing very well, and if I'm Memphis, I'm worried about Fox, despite the fact that he wasn't playing well. I always worry about good players. I worry about really good players because they're able to turn it on at any moment. So I always worry about that.
But man, this is why it's so heartbreaking that Keegan Murray has lost the ability to hit threes. We would be raving about him if he could just get anywhere close to even like 33% or something, because his defense is so good. He's given you 11 rebounds tonight to go with Sabonis's 13. He's just like such a good compliment to a team. If he can just hit the three-pointers.
Shoulda, woulda. I don't care. It's a what have you done for me today league? What are you doing for me now? And we're talking about Keegan Murray's inability to make shots on a nightly basis on these shows.
We are, but we should not act as, and I'm not saying we're doing this, but let's also talk about how good he was defensively. It's a loss. It doesn't matter. But again,
I understand.
Yes,
like
the starters were playing the last 8 minutes of the game.
But where's the Keegan Murray that I watched this rookie year make 3 after 3 after 3? Where'd that guy go?
That guy was in the weight room doing what his coach asked him to do, put on the muscle to guard the best guy, and that's screwed up his shot. Who knows if it comes back? But
there are a lot of guys that get stronger and bigger in the league, and it doesn't affect their shot.
You're right. But I guess it depends. If it's true, it depends on the science of your shot. But it felt like, last thing I'll say, because I let other people talk, but it felt like the starters were playing the last 8 minutes of this game. And it's like, maybe you weren't getting enough. One other thing I wanted to challenge is you said, Ryan, you said we're not going to Isaac Jones for offense. I disagree, man. That guy had 4-7. And he had two post plays where that ball looked like it was going to drop. You just know he's throwing it off just slightly.
Dirk. Domantas Sabonis couldn't put the ball on the floor in the post without getting it stolen tonight. Isaac, if you ISO'd to Isaac, no chance, my man. It's a quick decision. If
4
he's
7, 9 points. I'm not saying it was the solution. I'm saying he's giving you consistency in the short window of offensive production.
So
And I want to keep seeing it.
Yeah, Dirk, I agree with you there, but he's getting it at the rim. He's being it's put up on a tray for him for the most part. And I love it. That's when the Kings get out in the transition. The Stars, the biggest compliment I can give him, Dirk, is the core of this team trusts him this early on. That is huge. So he's just not the guy you're going to go to for offense.
Dirk, thank you for the call. We appreciate it. We're going to move on to some others. Let's get to NBA guru Zach. What's up there, Zach?
How you guys doing?
What's up?
I mean, it's the same story like you guys are saying. 2 for 20 for Fox, Kevin, and Keegan from threes. Just ridiculous. 2 for 20. The frustrating thing is I don't even think Memphis played that well.
No.
They had 22 turnovers.
They didn't play well, and they didn't have Morant on the floor in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's what also makes this loss to me worse.
Yeah, and 22 turnovers. I feel like there was like 3 or 4 steals that Fox got, and he just gave it back to them. Gave it back to Memphis on a fast break. Just didn't score as off the turnovers that we should have. Obviously, the 3-point percent is becoming a joke. Bottom 5 is just not going to win us games. And I think also part of that is minutes. Like if we're just going to keep playing our guys heavy minutes, their legs aren't going to last to shoot the threes. So, I mean,
well, Keegan Murray played 40 tonight. Fox played 38, and they got a game tomorrow in San Antonio.
Yeah, it just doesn't get it keeps getting worse.
You know what? Why is Malik Monk? I thought about this, and now that Grant, you named the minutes, Malik only played 32 minutes. What's going on with that?
I don't think he's accustomed to playing the upper 30s because he never has. And I think that's part of it. And he's coming off what he's now played in 3 games, maybe, with the ankle injury that he had, maybe he's not ready. I don't know, but I'm just speculating.
No, fair enough.
Yeah, he Mike Brown did play Kevin a lot over Monk. Some minutes that I thought Monk could have had. No one can make. That's one thing I didn't like about Mike, but I don't know what Mike could do because DeMar, Ryno was saying DeMar, they were doing a little too much ISO ball in that fourth quarter, which I kind of get. It wasn't really a flow, but I mean, it's tough. Like, what is Mike supposed to do? Most of the threes the Kings were getting are open. I mean, they are open shots from what are supposedly good 3-point shooters.
Mike can't do much because Monty McNair gave him a terrible bench.
Absolutely.
It's like that's the reality of the situation.
And DeMar is a little bit of a cone on defense. They were attacking him on defense a lot in the fourth quarter as well. He was a -12 in the game. I think it was the worst one. Not too big of a deal, but just something to point out. But yeah, if we're gonna keep playing heavy minutes, we're gonna miss our threes because of our stamina. I mean, this season is good as gone. I am surprised Keon did not get as much time as he should. That's one thing. If I'm going to nitpick on Mike and a lot of
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I don't get that because he's the only one that can make a 3-pointer on this team consistently.
Yeah,
with
Keon
volume.
is shooting it well.
That's a great point. Why are we not playing him? That's the one
He's
thing.
He's in the coach's doghouse. There's no question about it.
But I don't get why, because I get he had a bad 2-minute stint or whatever in one of the last games. But we're just not going to play him anymore because of that. He was fine. He's still young, and we
went through it last year with Davion Mitchell during the middle of the season. It happens. Coaches fall out of favor with players fall out of favor with coach, and then all of a sudden, a guy goes down. That player who hasn't been playing has to step in and play well. And the Davion's credit last year, when he did get his chance after it had been taken away, he played the best basketball of his career. So you just got to stay ready. It's the NBA, and you never know when your number's going to be called.
Zach, to your point, Keon is shooting the best percentage on the team at 44.1% this year from beyond the arc.
Yeah, he's got to be playing more minutes. I mean, that's really you got a 45% 3-point shooter, and we're shooting 22% from the 3 in the game. It's a good idea to put the guy that shoots 45% in there.
Well, we got a question on the chat line, not a question, but he thought that Malik's numbers might have been reduced a little bit because he did have foul trouble earlier in the game. I don't disagree with that, but the chances of Malik Monk fouling out of the game are very rare. He's probably not going to pick up 6 fouls. As it ended up, he still had 2 to use. So yes, you're probably right, but I've never liked that.
Here's the other thing, guys. I credit Mike Brown for using his challenges and getting 2 successful challenges in a
Uh-huh.
game, but he's not breaking up these stretches. When the Kings are going cold, you have got to break this up when you're getting stops. I mean, I tracked the damn possessions, and it's clear as day. You've gotten 8 stops in a row with 5 forced turnovers, and you've only scored 5 points during that time. Call a timeout, draw something up. It's just, I
Yeah,
guess we can point a lot of ways.
he's in a tough position. I mean, you just the most important thing is, are they getting open shots? Are they getting clean looks? And they are. I mean, a lot of the 3-pointers are clean looks, and they just got to hit them. And if we're not, then we're not going to win. So
Well,
Yeah,
the
Zach,
Kings are lucky that the Kings are lucky the Suns lost tonight to New Orleans, because everybody other than and Denver lost. Obviously, you knew they would to Cleveland, but the other teams, they won, and now with the loss, you're 10-13, and you're only a game up in the loss column on Portland. All right, I mean, come on now. This
uh,
is very you're on the brink of having a disastrous season right now. If you lose tomorrow to San Antonio, I mean, that would be 3 losses to the Spurs already this year. That's if you lose, and you come home 4 games under 500 in the West. That's not easy to bounce back from, guys.
we have one of the toughest schedules coming up too. I mean, we have one of
After
the
the
hardest.
first of the year, it's brutal.
Yeah. So they didn't take advantage, and now we got to start beating the good teams, which is not looking great.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Here, guys.
I'll tell you, Zach brings up some good points. I am not even going to look that far to the schedule. I'm looking at tomorrow,
Yeah.
because if you come home after a Houston win against a really good team and you follow that up with 2 losses, that to me, that makes the Houston game just an aberration.
I'm not going to go as far as to saying it's an aberration.
Well, look at what they did before the Houston game. They had
Very-
lost. They had lost what, 5 of 6?
Yeah, but I'm giving this a different sample size now that you've got Malik Monk starting. This is
Okay.
game 3 of Malik Monk starting. Out of the 3 games, they have played better than they have played worse. Their better play has outweighed the worse, and the offensive change is great to me. It's exactly what this team needs. Look at how they came out to start the game. They hit
They scored 110 points tonight.
Great, but they went away from it, is my point, Grant. Their first 10 possessions, they scored on 8 of them. So it's consistency. Can you keep it up? And for right now, they cannot keep it up for 48 minutes.
Well, they better win tomorrow. That's all I can say, because if you come home 4 games under 500 with how bad the Kings have been at home, I'm not sure you climb out of that in the West. I'm very well aware it's December. I get that. But I don't like the trend. I guess I'm looking at trends. I don't like the trends that I'm seeing.
And how happy is your owner going to be if you drop your 3rd to San Antonio around the Christmas time too? And this team's trending the wrong way. Watch out.
Yeah. All right. We invite your phone calls. Also, I am looking for a rant idea. All right. So you can think about that. A rant with Grant. I need that. We'll have that coming up for you in a little bit. Don't forget about Sunrise Landing, the newest residential community in Calusa from Blazona Development. That's right. That is Sunrise Landing in Calusa. You can get all the information at calusasunrise.com. No Mellorews, no homeowners on these beautiful models. 6 to choose from, various lot sizes, adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Good access to the major arteries like I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20. Go to calusasunrise.com. You'll get all the information you need on beautiful Sunrise Landing. Well, not there for the Kings tonight. They fall back to 3 games under 500. The Spurs lost to Chicago tonight. So the Spurs are still ahead of the Kings in the standings. They are in 11th. They are 11 wins and 11 losses.
Was it close? I didn't look at the scores.
No, Chicago really controlled most of the game. They scored 139 on the Spurs.
Wow.
It was one.
Okay.
Yeah, wow is right. It was 139 to 124. It was a big first quarter for Chicago. They outscored San Antonio 36-22 in the first quarter. The Spurs had a 40-point third quarter, but they were in too big of a hole, and they lose at 139 to 124. Again, they are 11-11 and 8-5 at home. And I'm looking at the minutes. Here's the difference between the Kings and the Spurs. because the Kings have no bench. You had
No Wemby.
I mean, yeah, Wemby didn't even play in this game.
Yeah.
Harrison Barnes played 20 minutes. Chris Paul played 29. Castle played 23. The other two starters played 25 and 36 respectively. Right? Think about that.
Yep. Vucevic.
And no Wembanyama.
No Wembanyama. Vucevic, 39 points for Chicago, pouring it on.
How about that, huh?
How about that? Big career night for him, probably. Dash, welcome into the conversation tonight.
Hey guys, how's it going? Look, we can talk about everything. The one thing is, like, is there any excuse to the transition defense when there's about 3 minutes left in the game?
Nope.
No, you're spot on.
Off that white. There's no excuse for that. I don't care what kind of rotations you have. I don't care what kind of depth you have. The 5 people on the court have no excuse but to give that layup up that easily when you're down.
Yep,
You know?
you're spot on.
That's ridiculous. There's no excuse to Fox getting turnover after turnover. I agree with you, Ryan. Turnover after turnover, and we barely get any points off of it. And you don't call it timeout. You don't just take a second when the other team's on a 15 whatever run. Just take a break, man. Call it timeout. Let's, recoup. We're on the road. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what coaches do.
Yep.
Hey, Dash, you know what else there's not an excuse for? Devin Carter's pants. Somebody needs to talk to that young man.
And that dude needs some fashion. I don't know who his stylist is, but it's not okay.
By the way, for those that are wondering what we were just talking about, Wembanyama did not play tonight because of back spasms.
Okay, so Spurs lost.
We don't know about his availability for tomorrow, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that's why the Bulls okay. So the Bulls beat them, and yeah, I mean the 7-man rotation. Your 8th man was really in street clothes a week or two ago. I mean, and we know the bench has, and the bench that season we went off the light the beam season. Like our bench was probably arguably one of the best benches in the league, right? Trey Lyles was doing his thing. Malik Monk, arguably 6th man of the year. I mean, it's just and Monty McNair has to get on the phone, and they got to turn this around and do something before Christmas or before the end of the trade deadline.
Well, if they don't do something soon, they're not going to be relevant when they get Devin Carter back from his injury. They'll be too far from behind, and it's just the reality of the Western Conference. You go through a bad stretch, and they're going through a bad stretch right now. You're not going to climb out of this hole because you got too many teams that you got to pass over.
And 2 more points on one thing is Keegan. Yes, his defense was great. He takes a lot of good charges. The thing with Keegan is, man, it was a 3-point shot, and I don't know, an earlier caller was talking about, the biological thing. He put on muscle, but I mean, it wasn't like he was like
nonsense. That's a non-factor.
Yeah, he was 23 years old. Like, he's in his grown man body almost. It's not like it's gonna make a huge difference. And the thing is, what he can't do is he dribbles into the paint, he picks up the ball. There's
not a good ball handler.
Yeah, and there's like 10
not
seconds left on the shot clock, and and that puts the offense in a bad position. Either kick it out, or he's gotta know what to do with the ball once he starts driving. Anyways, frustrated, but I want to leave my call on one positive note. So I'm in Ohio, as you know. Cleveland's doing his thing, and I looked at this quote that the coach said, and he mentioned that the offense that he's running, or where he gets his inspiration from, is a great Rick Adelman, and he learned that offense style that they're running from Rick Adelman. So shout out to Rick Adelman, man, underrated coach.
Yeah, well, I don't see any similarities. I don't see any similarities really between this offense and Rick Adelman's offense, which was the Princeton offense. But thank you very much for the call. I greatly appreciate it.
All right, guys, have a good day.
Thanks, Dash.
Thank you. I shouldn't say no similarities, but I go back to this. It's the most basic basketball 101. Regardless of what you think the NBA style is, or what it should be, or what you want it to be, the NBA is a 3-point shooting league, period. It just is. Doesn't matter how good your big man is. Doesn't matter. It's a 3-point shooting league. It's a make or miss 3-point league. And when you can't make threes on a consistent basis, you're going to lose more games than you win in the NBA. That's it, nutshell. I don't give a damn how many post players you have. I don't care how good DeMar DeRozan is. I don't care how many free throws you make. It is a make or miss 3-point league. That's it. And when you don't make threes in this league, you're going to lose more games than you win. And that's where the Kings are at right now. That's why they're 3 games under 500. Yes, I can point to the bench, but the bench still makes threes or they miss threes. Kevin Huerter tonight couldn't put the ball in the ocean. Fox, awful. Murray, awful. I mean, I'm talking about 3-point shooting, awful. Right. Can't win in this league like that. You just can't. Now think about this. You only lost by 5 points tonight in a game which your opponent's arguably best player was a non-factor. That's
Well said.
that also, like, I'm thinking of do I look at that as a positive or a negative, Ryan? I really mean that. Do I look at that as a positive or a negative that you lost to a team whose best player did not play well and got kicked out of the game?
I'm looking at it as a positive because defensively, the Kings did really well. I thought the defense was good. They held the 3-point percentage under what they've been allowing on the season. The turnovers we've talked about, they forced 22 of them. They just didn't get out into transition enough. And that's where actually, forget who brought it up, the transition at the end of the game. It was Dash, I believe. They got smashed there. They just weren't communicating.
Here's the deal. You are not going to win in the NBA. You're not going to win when you shoot 23% from beyond the circle.
Bingo.
You're not going to win.
It. You nailed it. You got no argument out of me. You're spot freaking on, Grant. Well said. Chad, if you want to come on the show, because we haven't had you on the show before, you need to be on camera. So we've had a little issue. We'll go to Jay first. Jay, what's up?
How you guys doing today?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. I didn't really look at the stat line yet. I will. But from the eye test tonight, I think the Kings played actually fairly well. I think we didn't do, because normally I come on here with some critiques about our game plan or and things like that. I think we executed fairly well. Ryno at the end where we gave up a transition bucket while we're down. I think we were due for that, being how good of a transition defense we were throughout the whole game. So it wasn't the right timing to give up a 2. But if you, like, statistically speaking, we were due to eventually give up a bucket in transition. It just wasn't the right time. And I do agree with the coaching sequence of turnover. The ball was kind of wild back and forth. And, we weren't making our shots and whatnot. In the fourth quarter, you definitely should call a timeout. I don't know. A lot of factors could be at play. Your team is winded, this, that, and the third, which they probably are winded if you're turning the ball over and not scoring. But as far as the eye test goes, besides those little 2 critiques, I think the Kings played well. I think what it comes down to is what Grant was saying, that 3-point shooting was terrible. That's really what I wanted to emphasize with this call was you got to address this somehow. Because
how are you going to address it?
Well, we got Doug McDermott.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, like it comes down to a point you can't be called you can't call it a slump this long if you're 24 games into like.
So how are you going to address it? That's the point I'm trying to make. You Mike Brown, it doesn't have a magic wand where you can go, hey, I need you guys to start making.
Yeah, that's not Mike's fault. That's not Mike's fault. We know. I mean, you can only sell so many assets at once, like, and who wants your assets type of deal going on. So we'll see if there's going to be any changes by the deadline. I'm not sure. As well as me right now. I mean, it's up in the air. It's probably leaning more towards you'll probably see an adjustment made. But yeah, it was pretty bad. And that I don't. Well, can you read me Stephen Curtis? I wish it was Stephen Curry. Can you read me Kevin Huerter's 3-point stat line?
Yeah,
6.
I thought he hit 1. 0 of 6.
Yep.
Yeah. And Keegan's?
1 of 7.
Keegan was 1 of 2. He only took, 1 of 7. Fox was 0 of 7.
Ooh. And that's the thing with someone like Fox, like he's a streaky shooter, and that you've seen that for the past.
Yeah, he was 8 of 23 overall.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ryno.
You got to get Domas some more threes. I'm sorry. He's the second best 3-point shooter on this team.
Yeah,
right. That's not good, though, right?
No, hey, Jay, I'm not disagreeing with you, but you got to get him some more looks. He's shooting it at a decent clip, and he shot enough of them where we have a sample size.
Here's a stat for you. You like stats? John Morant tonight, when he was on the floor, was a minus 32 in a 5-point win. Now, think about that. That's almost impossible.
I think the technical fouls have an impact on that. That's why it's so low. But the thing about Domas, before I get off, I would have probably made an adjustment earlier looking back on the game. I don't think Domas versus Jaren Jackson was necessarily the best one-on-one matchup in the paint. just because you could tell when Jaren wants to get to the rim, he can blow by him. He's a little bit more athletic for his size compared to someone like Sabonis. So maybe having someone like Keegan guard him would be, I don't know, an adjustment that you make. I don't know if you guys wanted to touch on that, and I'll hop out. Yeah.
All right,
Well,
thank you, bud.
yeah, thanks,
Thank
Jay.
you.
They actually were thinking a couple steps ahead at points in the first half with who they were guarding and vice versa. They were thinking about mismatches that they would get on the other end of the floor. So they started Keegan up high, so the switch came back down low. They didn't do that for Domas, but I did see that, so that's a good thing, Grant. Coaching staff and adjustments, something different than we've seen.
Hey, don't forget about New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you, and they are available 24/7 for your plumbing needs and repairs. Just go to sacserviceplumbing.com or call that number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you, and again, they are available 24/7 for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. They are awesome. That's sacserviceplumbing.com. Folks, brunch this weekend. Happy hour during the holidays, whatever the case may be, Bennett's has got you covered. Sacramento, Roseville, and the West Side Grill in Rockland. Don't forget about their happy hours daily, 2 to 6, their sips and taste. Tremendous deals on their shared plates and 60 different types of wine available by the glass. So many with tremendous happy hour prices. Again, great place to gather for the holidays. Prime seafood and steak at Bennett's. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com to make a reservation. And again, maybe you get down there this weekend for their outstanding brunch. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com.
Make that a priority. By the way, you can put your order in now, right there on the website, Bennett'sRestaurants.com.
Yeah.
Love that.
They don't deliver cross country yet, but I'm trying to get Brian to see if we can work that out.
Yeah, part of the business plan, right? Get food to Napes.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, Grant, 30.8% from the field, 20% from the 3-point line.
Well,
Clutch
that's
time.
not gonna win you many games on the road, is it, Ryno?
It is not, Napes. It is not. Turnovers, terrible. Just not good stuff. Second half.
Yeah. Oh, well. If you want to give us a call, you've got the contacts and everything else, and we are happy to have you. But right now, it's a team that is 3 games under 500 in a very difficult Western Conference.
Yeah. At what point do you start thinking this run ain't coming? We're through game 23 now. And Grant, if this continues and you're already starting to see some rumors that GMs are starting to chum the waters about De'Aaron Fox's availability.
Well, you are what you are. This Kings team is what they are. We have a sample size now that we can work off of. Okay. And yes, there have been some injuries, but every team's had injuries. We just talked about Memphis and their injuries, right? They were without Ja Morant for a while, and last time I checked, they're 15-8. Okay, so Dallas has had Luka out of the lineup. Guess what? They're 15-8. So teams have injuries. It's part of the deal. This is who the Kings are. They're a team that on nights is going to look very good, like they did in the last game.
Houston
right?
made their threes.
Yep.
Okay. Made their threes. Good to
That's
go.
exactly right. And then there are nights when they play pretty well and lose, like tonight, because of their inability to make the three. They're not good at home. We know that. But I look at the big picture. The big picture is, and I hate to repeat myself, it's a 3-point shooting league. It's a make or miss 3-point league. And the Kings are really bad in that department. So I don't know if this team is capable of going on a run, because I think that their limitations from 3 will hold them back. And when you're 3 games under 500, Ryno, in a Western Conference, you don't have the affordability to blow games anymore.
Yeah.
You've done that already.
Safety net's gone.
You've done that. And now you put yourself in a position where you can't have any more real big boo-boos, all right? Because you're screwed.
Yeah, Grant, it's, as you say that, I'm looking at the team stats. The Kings win the points in the paint, which we have seen more times than not this season.
Yeah.
The fast break points, where this team wants to play fast, they get blown out of the water 22-9.
Yep.
And the bench, 60-15. Memphis, 60-15. That's going to be our stat line every night, unless you make threes.
Well, it was the stat line when the Kings lost to Brooklyn.
That's right.
Pretty much. right?
Damn
And
right.
and so many other nights. And so how do I expect that to improve? Well, I don't, because your personnel is your personnel. And I worry. Here's what I worry about. I worry about De'Aaron Fox as this season progresses, running out of fuel. His minutes are going to add up to a point where I'm worried about him. I'm worried about him because he's played in every game this year, which is not something he's done in his career. I know we're only in December, but I still can't imagine this team without De'Aaron Fox for even if this team loses De'Aaron Fox for a week, and let's say you have 4 games that week, you'll be lucky to win one of those games.
I'm going to go the other way. I can't imagine De'Aaron Fox winning All NBA with this team.
There's no way he will. No.
Exactly.
No. I mean, it's just not happening. And it's not going to happen when you shoot 0 of 7 from 3. And listen, I know De'Aaron's the best player on the team, and I know he was NBA Player of the Week. But I'm sorry, if I'm going to judge the totality of De'Aaron's season, he's not an A for me. I'm probably giving him a B+.
Yeah.
But he's in my book, I'm not giving him an A if I'm looking at the totality of his year. He's had too many off nights.
Would you say he's trending up, though?
Yes, I would say he's trending up. But a game like tonight, it doesn't help.
He took away Ja Morant, Grant.
Yeah,
He didn't.
But he's a point guard who is not going to be judged by what he's doing on defense. Everyone's not going to look at De'Aaron Fox's defensive game tonight, Ryan, when they evaluate his game.
6 steals tonight. 6 steals. He was
I'm going to go this
8
of 23 and 0 of 7 from downtown. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at his steals. I'm just telling you. I'm not looking right.
Yeah, and here's the bigger problem, too. On top of that, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. De'Aaron Fox can never only shoot 3 free throws in a game, Napes.
Yep. Here's the bigger picture. If I can go there, and I know it's maybe 4 weeks premature, is he going to be an all-star this year?
I don't see how. I don't think this team has an all-star.
I don't either.
The way they're playing.
Especially in the West.
We've seen
Curry and Luka are going to be your starters. You agree?
I agree. 100%.
Okay.
Fan voting. Yeah.
There's no question. So he would have to be put on as a reserve, and I'm not so sure I don't know. I don't see it happening right now.
Based off of last year, the All-Star voting is as much about what your team's doing and their relevancy.
Yes.
De'Aaron Fox would have to be scoring 50 points every night or averaging a triple-double to even be considered, in my opinion, as a reserve.
That's why Karl Anthony Towns made it over Domantas Sabonis last year.
Right.
For that very reason.
Bingo.
Wow.
Nailed it.
Well, I will tell you that the sample size to me, I've seen enough. All right. Whereas this team they are what they are. And I'm looking at the standings that I keep on looking at. If you look at the 6th team, the top 6.
Yep.
The Kings are already, 3.5 games out of the 6th spot.
That's a lot this early.
It is a lot this early. Now, if you're going to look at play-in, well, you're only, and even in the play-in, you're 3 games back in the loss column already of the Timberwolves and the Lakers.
Go ahead. Yeah, I see the Lakers falling back. I see the Clippers probably falling back. Maybe Phoenix, depending on injuries.
Without Durant, they can't win without Durant. They lost to the Pelicans tonight, Ryno.
Oh, they did. Okay, I missed that when you said it. Okay, so yeah, those are going to be your teams that will probably fall back. Minnesota is going to keep going up, in my opinion. Denver probably keeps going up. Maybe Golden State comes back a tiny bit, but that's your picture right there. Because if we're looking below that line, do you think San Antonio is going to come up some?
It all depends on Victor Wembanyama, to me. So I'm looking at San Antonio. They're 11-11. Here's what I would say about San Antonio. I don't think that they're going to be in the dance this year, but they're going to beat some teams that are, and they're going to look good doing so. And all you got to do is look at Sacramento as a prime example. Maybe the Kings aren't a playoff team, but the Spurs have beat good teams this year.
And
they're going to affect who's in the playoffs. I can tell you that.
And then not just them. You've made this point. 3 of the Kings meetings with the Pelicans are later in the season. They're after this year. So they're probably, if you the way you look at it, they're going to be in that same role. They're
Yes.
going to play in some spoiler for some
Yes.
people once they get healthy.
And you look at New Orleans, they were at home tonight and they beat Phoenix without Durant. Now they do have DeJounte Murray back. So,
Correct.
keep that in mind. They're starting to get some players back. The Kings will see them coming up here in 2 weeks in New Orleans, or a little less than 2 weeks. So we'll see. There's a lot of games between now and then. But I'm looking at Minnesota. They've all of a sudden, after the Kings game, Ryan, they've now won 3 straight after losing to the Kings. All right. The Lakers, who the hell knows what's going on with them? Denver, they're only 11-9, but it's the loss column. You have 13 losses. Phoenix and Denver have 9. That's a big difference, 4 losses.
It is a really big difference. And look at the net ratings, Grant. Look
Yes.
at the difference in the net ratings. I don't know what the Kings are tonight. They're plus
They're plus
4.
0.4.
Yeah, they're plus 4. San Antonio negative 0.8, but everybody else other than the Lakers and the Suns, they're positives, and they're
Yep.
positives by over 3 or more.
Yep. So keep that in mind. But we can analyze this team to death, and we do, and that's our job, and we love having everyone on, and we appreciate the feedback, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. I just don't know how this team is going to get on a run with the liability from 3-point land. I don't understand how they're going to do it.
Well, I think we're I think we're talking it out live. We are almost at that 25 game sample size, and that's what it's going to be. This team's going to look great on some nights. They're going to beat some really good teams, and there's going to be frustrating nights where they play well, win many of the categories, only turn the ball over 10, 11 times, but lose because of the 3 ball. So the question is, how do you get the 3 is the only way you get on the run. It's the only way.
I don't see it. I don't see it. It's just way too inconsistent. I'm okay, by the way, your suggestion to get Sabonis some more 3s. I mean, if he's shooting it well, then let's go,
They're there. You just got to encourage him to be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, he seems to take them at the right times for the most part. Just bring him out a little bit more. I mean, I don't know, Napes. This is, if you're Mike Brown, I mean, where do you turn? Night after night, tonight, your bench 60 to 15. There's not much Mike can do. Let's give Kevin Huerter a couple of those 3s. 60 to 25 tonight from your bench, right? That's not, where does that come in with Monty McNair? Where do those 2 worlds meet?
AB, appreciate your super chat donation. We have the worst defense in the NBA. How do we fix it? I don't think you have the worst defense in the NBA. Yeah. You have arguably the worst perimeter defense, and that is an issue. And that's a very good question. We've talked a lot about that with Jerry and you, and we talk about the early trapping, out in the front court, which in the forecourt I don't like. I think if you don't get the ball, you're defending a 4-on-3 situation. And you have one dribble to the lane and you kick out and it's a wide open 3. There are things you can do. I think it's individual too. I mean, you just got to do a better job of closing out on your man.
Well, Mike Brown, they're shading because they don't have good on-ball defenders for the most part. But AB, this is where if the Kings defense could get better from beyond the arc, watch the next game. Everybody watch the San Antonio game. And the strong side defender that is not on the pick or the roll, they're with the guy on the corner. You have that guy coming over and helping, which means you're leaving somebody on the strong side wide open for a 3 and asking the defender to get all the way out there. And that's why that 3-point percentage is so damn high.
Well, tomorrow it is San Antonio, and we don't know about Victor Wembanyama. He did not play tonight. I'm going to guess that a young guy, his back spasms, I'm going to guess he plays tomorrow. I'm just guessing that.
Yeah, I would think so too. I'm with you. I'm in the mood for a rant. You got a rant?
Oh, I have a rant. Yes,
Okay.
I have a rant. I'm just waiting another minute, and then I'll get to my rant for sure. Absolutely. Yes, I do have a rant. How about you? I know I'm not asking you to do a rant, but do you have a rant?
Oh, Devin Carter's pants. Those were horrendous tonight.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't even know what to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get the kids have a different idea of style, but I mean, those looked like they, I don't know where they came from. Very interesting.
But yeah, I've got a couple of rants. I've got a NBA rant. I've got a NFL rant. So yeah, I've got some big time rants.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear them.
Yeah. But yeah, we will do it. I think I should probably stick to the Kings, though, don't you think?
I don't know. We've been pretty Kings heavy. If you want to mix it up, I'm sure the audience wouldn't mind that too. Unless you got a good Kings one. If it's going to be the shooting,
it's a little negative. I've got to be honest with you. It's
thank
a little
you,
negative.
John. Thanks for the super chat, John. Appreciate it. John Galt, shout out to you, buddy.
We appreciate that. I got to put my glasses on for this. I'm getting old. I can't, my eyesight, although my eyesight's good enough to know that the Kings got some real issues.
Yes. You don't need LASIK or glasses.
No, I already had LASIK a long time ago. And up until 2 years ago, my eyes were perfect, either reading or not. So, all right. So let's get to my rant. All right. And my rant, a rant with Grant, is brought to you by EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. Go to the website, edhmotors.com. Are you looking at a new vehicle for this holiday season? Well, go see EDH Motors. Mercedes, Land Rover, Toyota, whatever brand you're looking for, EDH Motors can get it for you. And guess what? You never have to step foot into a typical franchise dealership. Saves you money and time. And guess what, folks? You might even have a little fun. Just check out their inventory at edhmotors.com. They've got a little bit of everything from exotics, highline, classics, economy. And if they don't have what you're looking for, here's what I love about EDH Motors. They'll go get it for you. Their auto lounge is in the El Dorado Hills Town Center. And reimagine how you purchase your next vehicle. El Dorado Hills Motors Automotive Reimagined. And yes, it is time right now for my rant. All right, I've seen enough. I said I needed 20 to 25 games. That's where we're at. 10-13 for the Sacramento Kings. And we've dissected this a lot of different ways. Where do you put the blame for a 10-13 record right now? I put it on Monty McNair's shoulders. He left Mike Brown with not a lot of good groceries to make a 5-star gourmet meal. Doesn't have good quality beef. Doesn't have good quality meat, good quality seafood. The produce is not as fresh as it needs to be. And the result, Mike Brown, when he's looking to his bench, now stay in the game. Don't worry. You're playing 45 minutes tonight, no problem. That's Monty McNair's fault. That's not Mike Brown's fault. Mike doesn't go out and get the players. Monty does. And I know Monty's, for the most part, has done a really good job in retooling and rebuilding the Kings. But he's not doing a good job now. This team does not fit together good enough to win, and their bench is pathetic. I don't know if it's as bad as the Lakers bench, but it's right up there. It's one of the worst benches that I've seen the Kings have, and I watched a lot of bad benches through my years in doing the Kings games. The bench is terrible. That is Monty McNair's fault. It's not Mike Brown's fault. And yes, we criticize Mike and we feel it's been justified at times. But what can he do? He has a subpar bench. This is the freaking NBA. Tonight was a prime example of what an NBA bench looks like. The Memphis Grizzlies have an NBA bench. The Sacramento Kings do not. They're going to have a difficult time getting back to 500 with a bench this bad. And you know what? That falls squarely on the shoulders of Monty McNair. And that's my rant for tonight.
You got to have fresh seafood, Napes, when you're building an NBA bench. It's got to be fresh.
Got to have it.
You nailed it. It's closer to a G League bench, and we're talking about Isaac Jones, getting him more post. No. Yeah. Well done.
Well, I hope I want to continue on with this rant, but I want to now go the other way, okay?
Yep.
Monty McNair, I think, has done a really fine job for the most part. He hasn't hit home run after home run, but no GM does, okay? I think he's done a good job. But this is not, here's the mistake that Kings fans make. And I'm guilty of this too. Well, 2 years ago, we were the 3 seed and we almost beat Golden State. No, that's a long time ago. Just like the Kings keep on bringing up 2002. Stop going back to 2002. A lot of our audience, they weren't even born yet. Stop it. Forget about 2002. Forget about it. It's 2024, soon to be 2025, Ryan. And the Kings didn't make the playoffs last year, Ryno. You know what that means? they weren't one of the top 8 teams in the West.
Yep.
And now this year, you're currently 12th in the West, Ryno, and there's a lot of games left. But right now, I don't see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel for becoming a top 6 team in the West, which gets you into the playoffs. And I'm sorry, but I put that on the back of Monty McNair. Right now, it's a very questionable draft decision when you knew that the guy had a bad shoulder, and you see Dalton connect and what he's doing for the Lakers. He might be rookie of the year. And maybe Devin Carter-Ryan ends up being really good. I don't have a crystal ball. But right now, today, you think the Kings could use Dalton Connect when we talk about how bad their three-point shooting is, buddy? Huh?
Grant, Monty McNair is baseball today. It's a home run or it's a strikeout. There's nothing in between. This was a right now team, and you picked somebody for the future. If you knew the shoulder was that way, Dalton Connect, not saying he'd be the savior of this team, but it would have brought the Kings what they needed in a position and a little bit of swag too. He would have energized the guys. And Grant, here's the other hole that Monty McNair's in now. It takes something to get something. And your core is playing heavy minutes, which means you're going to take something away from this important core if you have to make a big move to get the depth on the back end. So you're almost damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. So you can say he drafted Keegan well. Maybe Devin turns out. Sabonis trade, good trade for both teams. It's everything in between. It's the fringes. It's the doubles. It's the triples. They never happened.
Okay. I will ask you, and then I'll ask the audience. If I came on tomorrow at any time, 1 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, 10 in the evening, whatever, and I told you that the Kings had traded Keegan Murray, I bet you over 50% of our audience would be fine with that.
I think it would be over 50% because this fan base has unfortunately, best and most knowledgeable fan base in the NBA. I love all of you. But look at the chat, trade Keegan, do this, do that. Fox has a bad game. He's the worst player in the NBA. Because of Keegan's shooting right now, you'd say, yeah, get him out of town. We don't want him anymore. Just like they did Harrison when he didn't hit the 3 in the playoffs. That was the narrative the rest of the time. But Keegan's a piece you would miss. Where is your defensive strength without Keegan Murray right now, Grant?
I would hate to give up on him in his 3rd year. I really like his personality. I like his professionalism. I like he brings his lunch pail every game. But again, I have to go back to this, Ryan. It's an offensive league and it's a 3-point shooting league, and he's killing the Kings right now with his 3-ball.
He's absolutely killing him. But you know what? Do you bet on? So here's the constant. His defense is the constant, right? He's not the big problem for the 3-point shooting defending issues, right? So is it safer to bet that his 3-ball is going to come around, or you bring in the 3-point shooting and lose the defense from him and hope that that group can guard the ball better? Which way do you lean, Nabes?
It's a great question, Ryan. It's a great question. We keep on debating DeMar DeRozan. Is he a good player? Yeah. I mean, look at him tonight. I mean, we know he's a really good player. Is it a good fit? I got to tell you, I'm not so sure it is. But then again, we don't really question the starters. We question really the bench most nights, right?
Right.
Like, can we agree that the starters aren't really the problem, even though we're singling out Keegan Murray? But for the most part, we don't really criticize the starters, right? It's always, It seems like it's the bench.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
How is that DeRozan's fault?
It's not, but maybe this goes back to Monty McNair. Keegan Murray, if you looked at his college tape, not a run and gun offense, very structured, very solid player. He walked into this Kings team that was this explosive offense that was playing at the fastest pace the NBA has seen. So maybe it's a very good player, but not the right fit. Same thing as Davion Mitchell, Nabes.
You think, I want to go back to something you said 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, because I think it's worth revisiting. You think if the Kings are out of this by February, trade deadline, you think we're going to hear a lot of De'Aaron Fox rumors?
Yes, I absolutely do. And maybe it's not from the Kings, but I think you're going to hear there is some strong interest around the NBA for De'Aaron Fox because, Grant, it's the prime time to get De'Aaron Fox. If you're a team that's on the edge of contention and maybe you still have good players on your bench not getting minutes or guys that you know are probably going to develop, you can bring De'Aaron Fox in for a year and a half. I mean, each day that goes by, and I'm not saying trade De'Aaron Fox, Grant, but every day that goes by, you're losing value on De'Aaron Fox. You're not going to get as much. So the sooner you start hearing it, yeah, you're going to keep hearing more and more and more.
All right, we wrap it up. Tomorrow we'll do it all again. You got your King's Court tomorrow afternoon or no?
I do indeed. I'll be here for it. Therapy starts at 2:00. Make sure you join us here on the channel.
All right, and then halftime with Jerry Reynolds after Ryan's pregame show, and then the postgame show, the Kings and the Spurs. Appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. Maybe we'll light the beam tomorrow.